Good evening. I welcome you all to this webinar on overview of ICF in the context of UG and PG curriculum. In order to get regular updates about our webinars and other notification, I request you to kindly follow our Facebook page or YouTube channel of IIP India. Today's webinar is being organized by IIPWC Ahmednagar District, Maharashtra State. The moderators for today's webinar are Dr. Dipali Hande, Dr. Nupur Kulkarni, and Dr. Sneha Choradia. So I request the moderators to please start with the session.
Good evening, everyone. I, Dr. Sneha Chodia, Sub-Coordinator of Ahmednagar District, Maharashtra State, IIP Women's Cell, along with Dr. Dipali Hande, Coordinator, and Dr. Nupur Kulkarni, Sub-Coordinator, welcome all the participants for today's webinar. IIPWC was started on 30th May 2018. It functions under the guidance of National Head, Dr. Ruchi Vaishnav, and IIP President Executive Dr. Sanjeev Jha. IIPWC works towards conducting public awareness camps, CME, and workshops. It aims at bringing together all the physiotherapy professionals for sharing knowledge and improving public awareness about physiotherapy. We have 5 zones of IIPWC in India with heads of each branch. Dr. Pooja Kamre is West Zone Head. The state team of IIPWC includes State Coordinator Dr. Suvarna Ganvi, Joint Coordinator Dr. Snehal Patel, and Sub-Coordinator Dr. Uttara Mohan, Dr. Priya Karande, and Dr. Nirali Sangvi. Maharashtra IIPWC has conducted 40 plus low-cost activities in various districts, and in first corporate IIP conference held in Indore in April 2019, Maharashtra State received award for Best State IIPWC. Our today's speaker, Dr. Suvarna Ganvi, is a renowned academician who is a professor and head of department in neurophysiotherapy, working at Dr. Vittal Rao Vikhe Patil's College of Physiotherapy, Ahmednagar. She has 20 years of experience as a full-time teaching faculty and is an approved PG and PhD guide of MUHS Nashik. She is a member of UG and PG Board of Studies, faculty for research methodology workshops for teachers and students at MUHS Nashik. She is an editorial board of member of WIMS Journal of Physical Therapy. I welcome Dr. Suvarna Ma'am for today's webinar on overview of ICF in context of UG and PG curriculum. If any questions during the webinar, post the questions in the chat box and questions will be discussed at the end of the webinar. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sneha. I thank IIPWC for giving me this opportunity, and I thank IIPWC Ahmednagar branch for inviting me as a resource person for this today's webinar. The topic of webinar today is the overview of ICF with respect to UG and PG curriculum. And keeping in mind the UG and PG students, I have tried to keep the webinar to the simplest possible level. So as far as international classification of functioning is concerned, in this webinar, we'll be trying to look at the different aspects of ICF, that is who, why, when, where, how, and what, basically. So before we move on to all these aspects, let us see first and foremost important is why. Why students needs to practice ICF or understand ICF. So if I ask the students, UG and PG students, they would say that it is there in the syllabus and we are supposed to study. So that is why we do ICF. Otherwise, probably they would not go in for ICF. So let us just go a little beyond the syllabus and understand as to why ICF should be done and how it is useful for our clinical practice. So as you can see here, the ICF takes us from the different systems to the patient as a whole. That is, when we are assessing the patient, we are assessing a patient of musculoskeletal system dysfunction or a neuromusculoskeletal system dysfunction. So ICF tells us that patient is not about a system. ICF tells us that patient is a whole with the different systems inculcated in the person. So ICF tells us that you should not look at the different systems, but you should look at the patient as a whole. Secondly, from ROM and MMT and Berg balance scale and hand function, ICF tells us that we should look at the daily activity of the patient, what the patient is able to do, what the patient is not able to do, what are his expectations. So from range of motion and MMT, this is just for example, range of motion and MMT that I have taken. One should move to the, one should take into consideration the daily activities of the patient. And most importantly, ICF tells us that for a patient, it is not the scientific language which is important, but for a patient, it is the patient's language which is more important. And ICF teaches us to understand this particular patient's language, which is very important if you want to become a successful physiotherapist. So without ICF, we are stuck into the systems assessment. We assess the functions in the scientific terms, and we set our goals in the traditional way, like, to improve the range of motion, to improve the strength, or to improve the hand functions. But with ICF, probably it tells us that patient as a whole needs to be understood. His day-to-day activities needs to be taken into consideration. And the most important thing is that the task or function-oriented goals with the patient as a primary focus needs to be set whenever you're treating the patient. So it's not only about the strength of the muscles, or it's not only about the range of motion, but how do you convert that strength or how do you convert that range of motion into the function which the patient expects? That is more important, and that is what ICF teaches us. So what is ICF? So first was why ICF. Now second is what is ICF? ICF is a unified and standard language. It is a framework for the description of the health and health-related states. And there are two important domains in the ICF, probably which everybody knows here in this particular webinar, whoever is attending, but it is just for the refreshment that there are two important domains, that is individual body functions and body structure, and societal perspectives, that is activity and participation, and environment, including the personal factors. So these are the two important domains which are considered in the ICF. So this is a very typical diagram of the interaction of the ICF components. So here you can see that these arrows are bidirectional arrows. It means that activities has got an effect on the health condition or a disease, and disease also has got an effect on the activities. Similarly, health condition may have effect on the body functions and body structures, and also in a turn may have the effect on the health condition or disease or disorder. So the point here is that these body structures, body functions, activities, participation, environmental factors, personal factors, all are interrelated. And this is the first and foremost thing that we need to understand, that it is not the impairment which needs to be considered separately and the activities that needs to be considered in another way. It is that all these things are related to each other, and hence when we are assessing the patient, we need to go step by step and understand the consequences of each of these parameters, each of these components on the overall health of the patient. So these are the few definitions which are given in the description of the ICF. That is, impairment is the loss or abnormality in body structure or function. Activity limitations are the difficulties individual may have in executing activities in terms of quality and quantity. Participation restriction are the problems an individual may experience in involvement in live situations. So activity limitations and participation restrictions are different in the sense that activity limitations probably talks about the dysfunction or the difficulty in the simulated environment, whereas participation restriction talks about the difficulties in the life environment or real situations. And ICF also talks about the facilitators and barriers, which are primarily considered under the heading environmental factors. So environmental factors may be a facilitator, that is, may help to improve the condition of the patient, or it may be a barrier in which it may prevent him from performing his or her role in the society. So body structures, this is just a revision. That is, in body structure, there are 8 chapters. Then body functions, again, there are 8 chapters. So there is mental function, sensory functions, and pain. And what we are more concerned with is the chapter 7, that is neuromuscular and movement related functions. Activities and participation, again, there are so many domains in the activities and participation, but again, what we are more concerned with is the communication, movement, self-care, domestic life areas, and community, social, and civic life. Other things are also important, but as a physiotherapist, we are primarily concerned with these aspects of activities and participation, and environmental factors which may have an effect on the patient's overall health status, that is the products and technology, natural environment, and human-made changes, support and relationships, and most important is the attitudes of the different persons around the patient, which has got a positive or a negative effect on the patient. So let us see that how this particular so many chapters and which I have shown are concised in one particular book by the WHO, and it is a very nice resource that the WHO has developed. Sanjeevani, can you post the link?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Is it visible?
I posted.
Yeah, no, is it visible? Snell, is it seen?
Yes, it is there in the chat box.
No. Can you see on the screen?
On the screen, we are still able to see the PowerPoint.
Okay, that's it. Now, is it seen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very nice resource material that is developed by the WHO, which is the ICF book. And in this particular book, the complete description of as to how do you go about ICF is very nicely given. And whoever wants to practice this particular ICF should definitely have this particular book. So I have shared this link in the chat box. Everybody can download this particular book. And I would just tell you the brief important points in this particular book. As you can see that here they have given 1-level classification, 2-level classification of the ICF, and the detailed descriptions as to what are the components in each ICF domain, that is body functions, body structures, activities and participation, and environmental factors are very nicely given in this particular book. So whoever wants to practice this ICF should definitely have this particular book. So on this page number 56, you can see that the different chapters are given, and if you click on each chapter, you get the different components in that particular chapter. So here is the mental functions, and you can see the codes are also given. So this is the consciousness function, and again further subdivided this consciousness function into the state of consciousness, continuity of the consciousness, and all other aspects of the mental health. Okay. So this is how probably you can explore into the different subcomponents of the each domain of the ICF here, and you can give coding and you can grade it depending on the condition of the patient. So again, going back to page number 56, you can see all the chapters in the body functions here. For us, the important is the chapter number 7, that is neuromusculoskeletal and movement related functions. So in this, they have given the description of each code, and they have given the description as to what should be included under that particular subdomain. That is, for example, here, now you have got stability of the joint functions. So they have given the inclusions as functions of the stability of a single joint, and they have also given the exclusion as to what is not included in this particular subcomponent. That is the exclusion, that is the mobility of the joint functions. So if you read this particular manual thoroughly, you would be able to do ICF in a perfect manner. So again, going back to page number 56, let us look at the activities and participation, which we are more concerned with. So chapter number 4, that is the mobility component. Many a time students gets confused as to what needs to be written under the mobility. So this is the area in which they have very nicely explained about all the aspects of mobility. That is, for example, changing and maintaining the body position. And they've given the different activities that we need to assess and how we would assess the patient. As for example, if it is a kneeling that you would like to assess, then this is the description of the kneeling that they have given. So it is a very useful guide that everybody needs to have if you want to practice this particular ICF. So the link is posted in the chat box. You can download it and just have a look at these particular aspects of ICF. Now, similarly, about the environmental factors, again, students find it difficult as to what needs to be written under the environmental factors. So they have very nicely described as to what do you mean by products and technology in the environmental factors. So here you can see products and technology for personal use in daily living. So whatever are the equipments, like for example, general and the assistive product technology for general and assistive products and technology for personal use. So they have given the description and they've given as to what are those general products and what are those assistive products that needs to be considered under this particular heading, and they have described it very nicely. So now let us take an example of a case and how do you write ICF for that particular case. Now, for example, this is how usually we ask the students to write the ICF based on a simulated case. So probably a 60 years old male patient with a diagnosis of CVA with right hemiparesis is referred to physiotherapy department, and patient is able to sit independently. So this is how the description is given to the students. Now, ideally, the students just should underline what are the important components in this particular description that is given, and the way it is underlined here in this particular slide, and probably then divide these components into the body structure, body functions, activities, and participation, and environmental factors. So these are the body structures, the 8 chapters that are there in the body structures. So ICF not only talks about the disease, but ICF also talks about the health. So before we move on to the impairment, we should write what is intact in the patient. So that is what we have at our institute. We have modified a bit, and we have said that let us look at the structural integrity first, the functional integrity first, and then you talk about the impairment. So let us talk about the structural integrity in this particular patient, the case that was given. So in that particular patient, the patient is of CVA, and definitely there is involvement of the structures of the nervous system. So if I want to talk about structural integrity, so S1, that is the structure of the nervous system, is definitely affected. So it is not intact. So let us remove that. Okay. The structures related to the movement, that is S7, even they are not intact, they are affected. So let us remove that. Okay. And let us talk about the structural integrity. So this is the structural integrity. That means these are the structures that are intact in this particular patient. And based upon this particular information, we may decide our treatment plan, probably taking the help of these particular structures which are integrated or which are normal. We may plan our treatment. Second point is that you can write the structural impairment in this particular patient, that is CVA with right hemiparesis. So structural impairment, these are the impairments that are present in this particular patient. And ideally, you need to write the source of information as to from where this particular impairment you have come to know. So source of information, whatever test you have done, if the CT scan or MRI is done, if the clinical investigation is done, like say, for example, 7th and 8th cranial nerve involvement is there. So clinical investigation was done. So whatever is the investigation that was done, you need to write the source of information. Now, similarly, this is about the body functions. So these are the 7 chapters in the body functions. And again, if we look at the functional integrity first, so the mental functions of the patient are affected. The patient has got pain and there is a sensory affection also. So sensory functions and pain is affected. And the patient has got the neuromuscular and movement related functions disorder because it is a case of hemiparesis. So even this is affected. So this is how you would write that these are the functions that are intact. And when you're giving the treatment to the patient, you can take the help of these functions whenever you're planning the treatment. Coming to the functional impairment, again, you write the impairment of the patients. What are the affections in the patient based on the resource that I have shared with you? You can look at in the resource, what are the different areas under which you would write the functional impairment. And most important is the source of information. From where, how did you find out that there is a decreased mental function, that there is a decreased orientation, that there is a loss of memory? How did you find out? So that source of information also needs to be written. Similarly, this further moving on to the functional impairment, patient has got difficulty to do transitions, patient is unable to stand and unable to walk without support. So how did you come to know about this particular functional impairment? That you need to write. Coming to the activities and participation, probably in this particular patient, all areas are affected because his higher functions are also affected. So again, when you write activity limitations, you need to write what are the impairments in the patient, and you need to write what is the source of information. How did you come to know that there is this particular impairment? So how did you assess? Okay. And again, at our institute level, we have added this particular component, that is clinical reasoning. It is not given in the WHO manual, but we have added this particular component of clinical reasoning as to why this particular impairment is there. So what is the clinical reason for this particular impairment? And we have found that this particular addition of a clinical reasoning helps the students to understand the situation, the condition of the patient in a better way. And we are going to form a paper. We are going to write a paper, research paper on this, that this can be an addition in the examination, that you can add clinical reasoning when you write the activity limitations. So it helps the students, or it helps the researcher or a clinician to understand the patient's condition in a better way. So activity limitation, you need to write the impairments, the source of information, and the clinical reasoning as to why there is this particular impairment. Similarly, there can be an impairment in the changing of body position, lying down, squatting, kneeling. So all this information has come from that resource, which I have shared. And again, the source of information, from where did you come to know that patient has got difficulty in this particular positioning or changing in the body position, and what is the clinical reason as to why the patient is not able to perform the particular activity. This is one way of writing the activity limitations and participation restriction, that is impairment, source of information, and clinical reasoning. There is another way of writing the activity limitations, that is the capacity and performance. This is what is given in the WHO manual, that every activity needs to be graded in terms of the capacity and performance. Now, capacity is the ability of a person to perform a particular task in a simulated environment or in a controlled environment, whereas the performance is the ability of an individual. Performance is the ability of an individual to perform the activity in a real life situation. So for example, I've given an example here that mobility component in the activity limitation, that the patient can roll onto either side with mild difficulty to move on the affected side, to roll onto the affected side. So that is the capacity of a patient. So capacity is usually measured with the patient in the clinical setup. You know, when you have got a therapist around, when there is one intern and one third year and fourth year students, so the patient is in a protected environment. So he knows that if anything happens, there is somebody to take care of him. But the performance is when he tries to do the same activity in a real life situation. So here in this case, the performance for this particular patient can be, patient finds it difficult to roll on the bed due to less space and has a fear of fall. So now when this patient goes to the ward, or when this patient goes to his home, and when he has to turn or roll in the bed, in his bed, now there is a very less space. In a clinical environment, he's able to do it, but probably at home, he may not be able to do that. So that is the performance, and that helps us to decide our treatment goal. So that is what I was talking about in the why of ICF. That is how ICF helps us to decide our treatment goal. So probably for this patient, I would decide my treatment goal as that the patient should be able to roll on his bed with limited space, and that he should not have a fear of fall. So that can be my goal for this particular patient. So this is how ICF helps us to decide or determine or take us towards the functional goals. Let us take another example. In the capacity, when the patient is in a clinical environment or a simulated environment or a protected environment, patient can stand with minimum support. Okay. So when you do sit to stand activity for the patient, you are there in front of the patient to hold him. There are third years, fourth years interns, around the patient who are there to help him. So patient is able to stand with minimum support. But the same patient, when he goes home and when he has to stand up early in the morning, okay, probably patient finds it difficult because there is nobody around him. Okay, so in that case, if you just give him a cane in the hand, he would be able to stand confidently with the help of a cane which is held on his left side or right side, whatever side. But you are giving him a cane. So this is an example that performance can be enhanced with the help of an assistive device. So in the previous example, this example, that is rolling example, the performance was reduced because the patient had got a fear of fall. But here in this case, the performance of the patient has improved with the help of an assistive device. So this is also one of the way by which you can write the activity limitations or capacity in terms of capacity and performance. Another example is moving around in different locations. Again, this has come from the resource that is there. So you can just have a look at the resource and you can decide the list of the activities that you want to assess in your own patient. So moving around in the different locations. So patient can move only inside the house from one room to another room or room to bathroom. So this is the capacity in a protected environment that he is able to do it. But he has got difficulty moving outside the house. And again, his performance is decreased on the sloping surface. Probably there is a ramp inside in his house where he has to walk, and his performance is decreased on the uneven surfaces. So his performance is reduced in the real life situation. So this is another way of writing the activity limitations in terms of the capacity and performance. Similarly, the environmental factors needs to be written in terms of the barriers and facilitators. So again, design, construction and building products and technology of buildings for public use. So probably the design, construction of a building is not suitable for a patient who is not able to stand and walk. So probably that is the barrier, and you need to write the source of information. Probably in this patient, the personal care providers, that is his immediate family, extended family, and the friends are the facilitator. That is, probably they are taking good care of him, so they can be the facilitators. So whenever you write environmental factors, you need to write the environmental factors in terms of barriers and facilitators. Now, WHO has again simplified the task by giving this one particular excellent tool, which is the ICF browser, in which you can look at the different codes and you can write the different codes for the, because there is always a question for the students as to students and teachers whether codes are important. As far as the students are concerned, the codes are not so important, but this is the tool wherein you can find very easily find the different codes. So this is the ICF browser. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So here is the ICF browser. And you can see that on this particular side, there are body functions, activities and participation, environmental factors, and body structures. If you just click on this plus sign, it opens all the chapters in the body functions. Okay. And if you just click on again this plus sign, it opens the further components in the mental functions. And you can see the codes here, B110 to B139. So these are the codes that are there. So you can very easily write down the codes from this particular ICF browser. There is another thing here, which is the search fields. So if you just click here and type whatever you want to search, for example, I want to search walking and I need to code the walking of the patient. So I just enter code walking and I see so many results in the walking. So you can see here, these are the codes for walking, that is D450 to 469. Okay, so I can go to D, that is activities and participation here, and I can go to the 450, that is chapter number 4, mobility. And 450 to 469, here it is given. And there are so many components in the walking, which we are more concerned with as a physiotherapist. So have taken this particular example of walking. So here you can see that 450 is walking. So this is the code for walking component of the ICF, which you can easily write from here. And then again, you have got sub-components of walking, that is walking short distances, walking long distances, walking on different surfaces, walking around obstacles, and walking other specified and unspecified. So you can include any other component also. If you feel that something is not there in this particular ICF manual, you can always add into that manual in the under the heading other specified or unspecified. So that is the beauty of this particular browser, that it helps you to understand the codes and it helps you to find out the codes in a easiest manner. So this is the link which is posted in the chat box also. So I suggest that each one of you just open this particular link and just have a look at these particular aspects of the ICF, which can be very easily find out from this particular ICF browser. Okay, so you can see that there are in the ICF, there are body structures, body functions, activities and participations and environmental factors, and there are 34 chapters which are considered as first level classification, and there are 362 second level classifications, and then there are 1424 codes with third and fourth level. So which is very extensive information. So in a day-to-day life, probably this is not possible for us to use all these codes. So that is why there was the ICF core sets were developed for the ease of understanding and for the ease of application. So clinicians and researchers have identified that more than 1,400 ICF categories is not practical in daily use. So to facilitate a systematic and comprehensive description of functioning and the use of ICF in clinical practice and research, ICF core sets have been developed. So these ICF core sets are developed to reduce the task of finding out the codes for every component, every subcomponent of the ICF, and where to include in a particular condition, what to include in a particular condition. Okay. Sanjeevni, is it posted? The link is posted?
Yes, ma'am. It is posted.
Okay. And you can see the ICF core set now?
Yes, ma'am. Able to see.
Yeah. So this is the ICF core set, which is developed by WHO, and it is another wonderful resource that has been developed by WHO. So I again request or suggest all the participants just to open this particular link in their own mobiles so that they can understand as to how do you work on this. So you need to go to the electronic ICF based documentation tool here, and this is how the documentation form will come, and you need to do start selection, and here when you do this particular selection process, you can see different conditions which are given here, and for almost all conditions, like this is musculoskeletal core set. For example, this is ankylosing spondylitis. So this is a condition specific core set in which the different codes or different subcomponents of the body structure, body functions are included, which are related to that particular condition. And in each core set, there is a comprehensive and a brief core set. That is a descriptive one and a brief one, which you can use depending on the condition of the patient or depending on your own requirements. You can decide whether you want to use a descriptive core set or whether you want to use a brief core set. So to begin with, when you are new to this particular core set, I would suggest that you go in for a comprehensive, that is a descriptive one core set, so that you understand as to what are the different components that are included in that particular core set. So again, let us take an example of any core set. So let us take, say, stroke. So you click on the stroke and you select it, and you say submit selection. And this is how it is given, that what are the categories, what are the codes, what are the components that are included in this particular course set, that is given in details here, that these are the components that are included. And you go to next. And create documentation form. So this is how the ICF based documentation form for stroke is created. And here in the patient information, you can write the information about the patient. So a 60 years old male patient, whatever. So you can write the description of the patient. You can see here body functions, and most important is the qualifiers. So now again, this is another thing which is important as far as the further description of ICF is concerned, that for each component they have added the qualifiers. So you can see here that these are the qualifiers for the body functions from 0 to 9. And the description of the 0 to 9 is given, that there is no impairment, mild impairment, moderate impairment. So for example, if the patient has got consciousness functions and if there is no impairment, you can click here, and the description of the consciousness function, what is included in the consciousness function is given here. That is the functions of the state, continuity and quality of the consciousness. What is excluded in the consciousness function is also given here. That is orientation function, energy and drive functions. So this is a very handy course set that one can have and can just fill up the information in this particular course set and can have or create a documentation form after filling up all this information. So this is about the body functions and the qualifier. So B110, and there is no impairment, so it is 0. So this becomes B110.0. So this is how the qualifier is added in the each component. So this is about the body functions. Similarly, there are body structures that are given, and you can see here the structure of the brain, and there are 3 qualifiers which needs to be added. So extent of affection, nature of affection, and location of the impairment in the body structures. So how much is the affection? You just need to grade it depending on the information, the source of information, that is your CT scan or MRI or whatever other investigation. So for example, in this patient, probably CT scan and MRI was done. So I take it as the technical investigation and I record the extent of the impairment in this particular patient for body structures. So these are the qualifiers that are added in the each code of the ICF components. Similarly here, activities and participation. Here again, you have got the performance and capacity, which I had explained in the previous slides, that for every component there you need to grade it according to the capacity, that is the ability of an individual to perform that particular task in the simulated environment or a controlled environment, and performance is the ability of the individual to perform the task in the real life situation. So if it is not applicable for your patient, you may just leave it blank. If it is applicable, you may just grade it. So depending on the status of your patient, you may just keep on adding the components. So this is how you would write, say for example, fine hand use. Patient has got difficulty in picking up an object, grasping or manipulating or releasing an object. So depending on how much is the impairment, you can just grade the patient as mild impairment or maximum impairment, depending on what is the condition of the patient. So this is about the activities and participation, and last is the environmental factors. So environmental factors, as I said, can be a barrier, or it can be a facilitator, or it can be no barrier, no facilitator. So here you can see that this is a grade 0, which is a no barrier or a facilitator, and grade 1, 2, 3, 4, which are the barriers, and +1, +2, +3, +4, these are the facilitators. So this is how the environmental factors are graded on the basis of these particular numbers. And when you fill up all this information, depending on the condition of the patient, you can save this particular information for further use. So you can just print and save it with definitions. It would be saved as a PDF document with the complete description of each code, and print and save without definitions. It would just give us the code and the grades for that particular code. And here is the create functioning profile. This is another way of saving the information in which the codes and the impairments would be recorded. So this is how functioning profile would see. Now I have just added 2-3 components, so I can see only 2-3 components for which I have graded. So you can see here for body functions, the impairment of consciousness functions is 0. For structure of the brain, there was a mild impairment. For activities and participation, there was again mild impairment. And for capacity, I did not grade it, so it has come as not graded, that is 8. So this is how the functioning profile of the patient would be created. And you can use this particular functioning profile of the patient for the next use, or a comparative use, or for a follow-up of the patient. And you can check this again, functioning profile, after a period of 10 days or 15 days, depending on the duration of the treatment that you would like to give. Okay, so this was the use of a ICF course set, and this is just for example the functioning profiles that have been created for our patients. Is it seen? Is it visible?
No, ma'am, we're just still on the PPT only.
Okay. Okay. Now it is seen, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. So here, this is the functioning profile which is created for our patient. And you can see here the body functions, the different codes are given, and the impairment is given for the different codes. So this is how the functioning profile of the patient is created. This we had saved the information, and this is how the functioning profile is created, and you can use it for the later use. So this is about the use of ICF for using the ICF browser and the ICF code set. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So who is supposed to do ICF? Who is supposed to work on the ICF? So in our setup, it is the undergraduate, postgraduate teachers and researchers who are doing the ICF. As far as the undergraduate curriculum is concerned, it is included in the third year and final year in theory and practical. And the students need to describe the ICF and needs to work on its clinical applications. So the do's for the students, most important, don't panic. The students usually find ICF very difficult, and they feel that if they're not able to do ICF, probably they would fail in the examination. So my suggestion to the students is don't panic. Gain knowledge about the basic things, and most important is understand the importance and relevance of ICF. If you understand the importance, you would be able to write the ICF properly for the patients. And always remember, this is for the students, that the short-term goals and long-term goals that you frame for the patient always needs to have the functional implications. And because they should have functional implications, the efficacy of the interventions is measured by the functional improvement. When the patient says that I am able to lift my hand or I am able to do a particular activity, that is more satisfying for you, rather than when you see that there is an increase in the range of motion or there is an increase in the strength of the muscles. So if there is a functional improvement of in the patient, and if the patient tells you that yes, I'm able to do this particular task, it is more satisfying for you. So just always aim for the functional improvement in the patients. There are certain expectations from the teachers as far as the students are concerned. So they expect that the teacher should provide a concise list of the components of ICF to the students, because you have seen the resource. It is almost around 385 pages, and you have seen the ICF browser also. So it is very difficult for the students, to understand this extensive literature. So the expectations from the teachers are that they should provide a concise list of the components. Teachers should explain the interdependent relationship which is existing between the assessment and the ICF. Without assessment, without examination, without thorough assessment, and without thorough examination of the patient, students cannot write ICF. And there is an interdependent relationship between the different components in the ICF as well. This interdependent relationship should be supplemented with simple examples, and most important is the application on real patients as cases is expected from the teachers. As many real patients are seen by the students and assessed and examined and ICF applied on those patients, it would be easy for them to write in the theory examination when there is a simulated case. For PG curriculum, ICF course sets are the best because they help us to understand the follow-up of the patient and gives us the concise list of the codes and gives us the concise list of the components that are included in the ICF. So ICF course sets are the best as far as the PG students are concerned. A simple piece of advice to end with is ICF can be practiced only after the thorough examination and the assessment of the patient. So this is a piece of advice for the students as well as the teachers, that let us not underestimate the examination and assessment of the patient in the name of ICF. So ICF can only be done if the examination and assessment of the patient is done thoroughly, then only the ICF can be perfect. So let us check if this webinar was useful for you, and if you can find the codes for the following components with the help of ICF browser. Let us see how many of you can find out the codes using the ICF browser. Sanjeevani, can you just post the link again for the ICF browser in case if somebody has misplaced it? And
Yes.
these are the components for which I would like at least 10% of the participants that they would give me the codes for the following components from the ICF browser. So I'll give 2 minutes, and by the time we have question and answer session, I would expect the answers to be coming in the chat section. So walking short distances, orientation to time, squatting, and health professionals' attitude. So there are simple codes that are there in the ICF browser. Another thing is, the students, if they can create an ICF course set, they can just take a screenshot of this particular slide. And if they can create an ICF course set, and submit it in the chat box, or they can mail it to me if they've done it. This is my mail ID. And from the teachers who are attending this webinar, there's something called as the aha moment. So aha moment is during this webinar, if there is something that helped you to understand the ICF component in the best possible way, so you can just write that in the chat box. You can just mail me that particular aha moment, that this is something different that I learned from this particular webinar. So with that, and with my mail ID, I end with my talk. So thank you so much for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. Ma'am, there are so many questions, but we are running short of time, so I will just pick up some of the questions. So I just request all the participants, if we could not attend your question now, you can please mail your question to Suvarna Ganvir ma'am, and we will definitely try to solve your queries. Ma'am, first question is, do we write the performance depending on our assumptions after taking history of patient's actual environment? Because sometimes it is not possible to visit a patient's environment. So is it how we can go about the performance depending upon the assumptions?
Yeah, so that is what the performance ideally needs to be checked in the actual environment. And if it is not possible, now we have got the technology with us, so you can just ask the patient to take a video of his performance at home or wherever, I mean in his clinic or at his workplace, if you're trying to find out. But ideally, yes, it should be done by going to that particular place. And if it is not possible with the technology, with the help of technology, you can ask the patient to take a video, and then probably you can find out the level of the performance.
Okay. Ma'am, there are around 4 to 5 participants, and they have asked the same question. That is, do we have to write clinical reasoning in body structure and function also?
No. No. It is only in the activity limitations that you need to write. But again, as I said, it is at our institute that we have developed this particular habit of writing clinical reasoning. It is not given by WHO.
Okay.
So it is up to your institute what habit they develop, or what protocol do they develop. But as I said, it helps us to understand the situation or condition of the patient in a better way, and it helps us to frame the goals.
Right. Ma'am, one of the teacher, she has asked, how can we use the corset during exam?
For PG exams, yes, we can definitely use.
How we can use corset?
No, we have to go directly on the online, and we have to fill up the information. Or else what we have done is we have just downloaded the ICF courses by just filling up one or two information. And as I said, print and save with definition and without definition, not the functioning profile. Functioning profile would always come in a concise way.
Okay.
So you can download it, you can keep it with you, and the students can mark it the way we mark it for work balance scale or for any other scale. So that also can be done.
Because many participants, I feel that they must be teachers, because they have asked that how it is practical to, you know, perform ICF or core set during the examination. So I hope your explanation will be helpful to them.
Yes. And if
And
there is something which participants have not understood, or if they still have queries, my mail is open, so they can mail me at any time. I will definitely answer on the mail.
okay, ma'am. So I request all the participants, the feedback form link will be posted on your, in your chat box. Yes, ma'am.
I think there is one question that has just come, that do all UG students need to write the codes? This is a very common question that is asked. So yes, the codes are not necessary for the UG students. UG students just need to understand the concept of ICF. And coding is probably not possible at the UG level, because for coding you need to have that particular full 345 pages book, which is not possible. And it is not practically possible that that codes can be written.
Okay. Still, we are getting a lot of questions, but our resource person, Dr. Suvarna Ganvir ma'am, she has to leave because she has one more important session. But ma'am is available on her email. So please put your questions, and even the questions which are in the chat box, we will try to solve that. So it's my privilege to thank Suvarna Ganvir ma'am for her elucidate presentation on international classification functioning, which is a very important topic for all physiotherapy students and professionals. I take this opportunity to thank once again Dr. Suvarna Ganvir ma'am, IAP Women's Cell Head Maharashtra, Dr. Pooja Kamble ma'am, who is head of West Zone, and IAP Women's Cell Maharashtra team, Dr. Snehal, Dr. Uttara, Dr. Priya, Dr. Nirali, for your constant support. And a special thanks to IAP technical team for conducting this webinar in smooth manner. I proposed my sincere gratitude to Dr. Richi ma'am, National Head IAP Women's Cell, Dr. Sanjeev Jha, President IAP. Last but not the least, a big thank you to all the participants, and we assure you that in future we will try to organize this kind of informative webinars to upgrade your knowledge. Thank you once again.
Thank you.